the Las Vegas Raiders have the number 1 overall pick. Most folks assume, right, that Mendoza is going to end up in Vegas. What are some other options the Raiders have with the number 1 overall pick? If I was the Las Vegas Raiders, I would strongly consider not drafting Fernando Mendoza and using some of the salary cap space that I have. The Raiders, and I'm going to pull up the exact number here, coming up in a second. The Raiders are near the top of the NFL in terms of salary cap space. Top NFL teams in salary cap, 2026. The Las Vegas Raiders, going into next year, are near the top of that list. They come in second. They've got the second most cap space going into 2026. Because of that, if I was the Raiders, I would bypass Fernando Mendoza with the number 1 overall pick. I would pony up some money and go pay Malik Willis, the free agent quarterback from the Green Bay Packers. He comes from that Matt LaFleur system, which is a branch of Clint Kubiak's system. It all comes from that Shanahan West Coast zone run scheme. I think you pay Malik Willis, and then the choice is yours in terms of what you do with that number 1 overall pick. If I'm the Raiders, I just think using that much capital, using that type of resources on the quarterback doesn't make a whole lot of sense with where your team currently is. I think Malik Willis comes in, and there isn't much of an acclimation period in terms of him learning your offense, and it allows you, with the number 1 overall pick, to improve the other spots on your roster. You have a CVS receipt worth the needs, rather, if you were the Las Vegas Raiders. I think the conversation is simple. And I know a lot of people aren't going to feel this way. And I haven't heard anybody out there say this yet to this point. So maybe I'm first on the scene, so to speak. If I was John Spytek, if I was Tom Brady and the Las Vegas Raiders, I would pony up big-time money to pay Malik Willis, and I would bypass Fernando Mendoza with the number 1 overall pick, and I would go fill the other needs that I have on my roster: tackle, edge rusher, corner, wide receiver, to where if I'm the Raiders, I'm dangling that number 1 overall pick in the air like a carrot. Is there anybody that wants to come up and take Fernando Mendoza? Is there a quarterback-needy team that can't live without Fernando Mendoza? And then you trade back and you continue to stack assets on assets on assets. And you know what else that would allow you to do? You going out and signing Malik Willis and then spending a bunch of money in free agency, that is an immediate tell to Max Crosby that, hey, I know you're 29, brother. We ain't going to waste your prime. We're interested in going out and competing. That's what that would show Max Crosby. And if I'm the Raiders, right now, that's the way that I'm leaning. I'm going out and I'm addressing my offensive line in free agency. I'm addressing my secondary. I'm getting some pass-catching weapons for Malik Willis. And then I'm figuring out the rest in April with the draft. You can trade back from that number 1 overall pick and replenish this roster the way that you desperately need to. The Raiders are picking first for a reason. They are bottom of the barrel in terms of talent littered across that roster. If I am John Spytek, if I am Tom Brady, this is a no-brainer decision. Not only does it help in terms of keeping Max Crosby, but it makes it more likely that you're competitive in 2026. We just saw it with the Patriots. And I know what people are going to say. Well, no, there's only one New England Patriots. They're 1 in a million. We see it every year, baby. We see it every damn year. The past 4 seasons, there have been 4 teams that have absolutely come out of nowhere. Last 3 seasons. The Texans back in 2023, the Commanders in 2024, and the Patriots in 2025. Why can't the Las Vegas Raiders be that team in 2026? I want to open up the phones on this. 310-840-4910 is the number. 310-840-4910 is the number. If you are the Las Vegas Raiders, is it a foregone conclusion that you're sticking and picking Fernando Mendoza at 1-1 overall, Or does it make more sense to use all that salary cap space that you have, second most cap room and cap space in the NFL going into 2026? Are you picking Mendoza 1-1 overall? Or are you trading that pick, going out, using that money, signing Malik Willis, and then filling out the rest of your roster via free agency? I think the Raiders have all the potential in the world to go from being the laughingstock of the NFL, a bottom feeder, to a surprise playoff team. Am I tripping? You let me know. 310-840-4910 is the number. 310-840-4910 is the number. Denton, I want to tag you in here real quick. If you are the Las Vegas Raiders, does this decision make sense to you?
The decision being taking Malik Willis or the decision being taking Fernando Mendoza?
Which way would you be leaning right now? Is one more risky than the other?
I think the Malik Willis thing is maybe a little bit more risky just because you've only seen him throw 155 NFL passes. Are you willing to hitch your wagon to him? Because at the end of the day, if you're taking Mendoza, the thought is he's a franchise guy. And that he is going to be leading your operation for years, potentially a decade if things go correctly, right? It's just what comes with being a number one overall pick. So if you're going to go in a different direction, one, is there a player that you love enough to draft in that spot instead? Or is there a team desperate enough to take that? And I think that's where you run into the problem, Lynnell. Mm-hmm. I don't know how many teams are going to be desperate to move draft capital to go up and take Fernando Mendoza, understanding what 2027 is going to be. And if you're the Raiders, is there enough value in trading back, taking Malik Willis, and then hoping that Malik Willis works well enough to not find yourself in the same position again next year?
310-840-4910. What should the Raiders be looking to do? I think the decision is very simple. If I was the Las Vegas Raiders, armed with the second most salary cap space in the NFL going into 2026 and the number one overall pick, I would bypass Fernando Mendoza, and you would find out my plan right away because the way the NFL calendar is set up, free agency comes before the draft. I would pay Malik Willis whatever it takes to get him to Las Vegas. He comes from that Matt LaFleur system that has a bunch of similarities to the scheme that Clint Kubiak's going to run there in Vegas. I use the rest of my salary cap space to shore up this roster, improving the offensive line, getting some guys in the secondary to help us cover, and then more importantly, getting some pass-catching weapons for Malik Willis. And then when April rolls around, and I am on the clock at 1-1 overall, I am dangling that number one overall pick out like a carrot. Who's going to bite? Who's going to bite? And if I find somebody to bite, I'm moving back, and I'm taking the best player available. That is how you replenish your roster. The Las Vegas Raiders have a unique opportunity on their hands. Nobody's talking about the potential of Las Vegas going from bottom feeders to a playoff contender in 2026. I think it's more than likely to happen. 310-840-4910 is the number. If you're the Raiders, are you bypassing Fernando Mendoza? Or are you sticking and picking? Jake is in Buffalo, wants to chime in. Jake, welcome in to Westwood One Sports Tonight.
How we doing, Lynnell?
Doing good, man. I appreciate you logging in, brother.
So the thing is, watching Mendoza get that touchdown in the championship game.
You talking about the scramble?
That was grit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's a guy I would want to lead my team. And now, if we talk about what they're going to do for next year, is he the guy to get them over? And we're talking low. I'm talking like a 4-win, 5-win hump. You know. So do you take him and you settle with that, or like you're saying, dangle the carrot and go for a guy like Tua, Kyler we talked about last week, you know what I mean?
Right. It doesn't have to be Malik Willis. It could be Tua. It could be Kyler. I totally agree with that notion, Jake.
I don't know if I'm 100% sold on Malik Willis as my guy. I feel like I'd rather have Fernando and take the chance for my franchise, my future.
It's going to be interesting. I think it's a hot-button debate that we'll get some clarity on between now and the start of free agency. I appreciate the call as always, man. 310-840-4910. Which direction should the Raiders be leaning? Do they stick and pick at 1-1 overall and take Fernando Mendoza, or do they use the resources that are at their disposal? Going into 2026, the Raiders have the second most cap space in all of the NFL. If I was John Spytek, if I was Tom Brady, I'm using that salary cap space to go get a veteran at the quarterback position. And I'm using the rest of that money to chop down the CVS receipt full of needs that I have on the offensive line, at the skill position spot, and most importantly, at the second and third levels of the defense. 310-840-4910. If you're the Las Vegas Raiders, what are you doing? You sticking and picking, taking Fernando Mendoza, or are you going with a veteran in free agency? Mark is in San Francisco wanting to chime in. Mark, welcome into Westwood One Sports Night, brother.
Hey, thanks for taking my call. I like this subject. I'm sort of a curious observer of the Raiders. I'm a 49er fan, but I grew up in the Bay Area. So
I like the way you put that.
They've always been around, but I've had to take some S because my friends were Raiders fans and I was 49ers fan. But I still just care about them for some reason. Right. I'm really interested in this subject. I agree with you on almost everything. I think Mendoza, he just, to me, and I'm obviously not a scout, he just doesn't look like a sure thing. You never know. He might turn out to be amazing, but to take him first seems like a terrible idea. You already have your Joe Montana or Tom Brady on defense. And it's not just this year that, like, we're learning that a defense can win a championship with a decent to good quarterback. I still don't think Darnold is amazing. I think he just looks good on that team, and he's solid. He's good enough. So I would definitely build around what they have on defense and totally go offensive line. That's what I was going to say, but you already said it. Because I feel like that's the other lesson that doesn't everyone see that? I mean, I'm not even a coach, but you don't need – look at Patrick Mahomes last year in the Super Bowl. If that was the only game you ever saw him play, good defense against offensive line that's not doing great, he looks terrible. It's not the quarterback as much as it is as long as you have someone decent. And then the thing I hope they don't do, I hope they don't do some of the quarterbacks you're saying to go after. I really hope they don't take Mac Jones and somehow work a trade with the 49ers because I like him more than Purdy. And I'll say it over and over.
I can't believe a 49ers fan had the kahunas to say that.
Purdy's scrappy, but he just feels flawed and like he falls apart at times. Then he looks amazing when everything's going great and everything's just right. And then all of a sudden he looks terrible and he can't get anything going. Mac Jones just feels like a true pocket passer. He's solid. He's got the tools. I really wish. And
I dig it, Mark. And Mark, the longer that this call has gone on, I realize that you are an undercover Raiders fan, and that is okay. 310-840-4910 is the number. I'm thinking that the Las Vegas Raiders should bypass Fernando Mendoza with the number 1 overall pick. Malik Willis, a potential veteran option. There's another that makes a whole lot of sense as well. I'll tell you who that is next here on Westwood One Sports Night.